Hey guys, on this video we're going to be working with multiplication and division of decimals. I hope you've watched the other videos that kind of review how to multiply and divide decimals. Multiplication when you're deciding how many to move the decimal in your answer, and with division trying to decide what you have to do that divisor depending on if you're dividing by a decimal or a whole number. So I'm going to go over 10 questions with you. Hopefully this will help you. And then after that, then I want you to do your Master Connect assignment, okay? All right, so this first one, we're going to be multiplying, obviously. And I'll tell you when we work in class, I just always put the number with the most digits at the top. So this time I'm going to do the 4.86 first, and I'm going to multiply it by 3.5. Now, you know, with multiplication of decimals, we just multiply it like normal. And at the very end, we'll put our decimal place back in. All right, so that means we're going to multiply everything times 5 first. So 5 times 6 is 30, carry your 3. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 3, 43, carry your 4. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24. All right, at this time, you know we're going to put our 0 to hold our place. We're going to mark out what we've already carried. And now we're going to multiply everything times 3. So 3 times 6 would be 18, carry your 1. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1, 25. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. All right, and we know our last step is going to be to add it together. So we're going to say 0 and 0, obviously 0. 3 and 8 is 11, carry your 1. 5 and 4 is 9, plus 1 is 10, carry another 1. 4 and 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and then bring down your 1. Now, obviously, looking at these answer choices, these are the numbers you should have gotten. Now we've got to figure out where do I put my decimal place. So you look back up at your numbers in your original problem, and we're going to say how many numbers are there after the decimal. So in the first number, there are 2. So we're going to write 2 here. There's 1 number after the decimal on this one. So together, that makes 3. So that means we're going to move our decimal 3 places to the left. So we're going to start it here, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, which tells me that the decimals have to be after the 7, and then I'm going to put the 0, 1. I can drop that other 0 at the end, but the decimal definitely has to be 17.01. So your answer is this one right here. All right, obviously this one is division. So we're going to set up our division problem first, and then we'll talk about what we have to do with that divisor, because I can see that I'm dividing by a decimal. So when I set this up, I'm going to put 345.95, and we're dividing that by 0.5. Now we've talked about how we know that we can't divide this in decimal form like this. The divisor needs to be a whole number. So if I do that, I have to move this decimal place 1 over to make that just 5. But if I move it there, remember I've got to move it over here as well. So I know my decimal is now here, and then when I move it, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the answer part as well, in our quotient. All right, now I can start dividing just like normal. We have talked about in class how you can rewrite this problem and kind of clean everything up. Say that now you have 5 on the outside as your divisor. Inside, you're going to have 3,459.5. So you know your decimal's there. So it's the same thing as what you have written on this side. We've just cleaned it up so that we hopefully don't make any simple mistakes. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start dividing like normal. 5 into 3, obviously not. 5 into 34, it can go 6 times. That would be 30. We're going to subtract and get 4. Bring down your 5. 5 can go into 45 9 times. That actually gives you 45, so you have 0 left over. Bring down your 9. 5 into 9, obviously once. All right, 1 times 5 is 5. You have 4 left over, and we bring that last 5 down. All right, 5 into 45, that's 9. And that's going to give you a remainder of 0. All right, so if I look at my answer choice up at the top, I have to have 691.9. So that means this is your correct answer right there. This next one is multiplication, so we're going to start with setting up our problem. Both of these have the same amount of digits, so I'm just going to do it in the order it's given. All right, remember, we're not worried about these decimals right now. We'll come back to that at the very end of the problem. We're just going to multiply like normal. 8 times 2 would give you 16. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 1 is 41. we know we are now going to put our 0 to hold a place, mark out what we've carried. All right, then we'll multiply everything times 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 5 is 5. And now we're going to add everything together. 6 and 0 is 6. 1 and 2 is 3. 4 and 5 is 9. And then last thing we've got to do is go back and look at our decimal places. So there's one place after this decimal, one place after this decimal. So that tells me I have a total of 2. Okay, so I'm going to go 1, 2, which tells me that my answer is 9.36. So 9.36 is your answer on that one. This problem's starting some of our word problems that relate to multiplication or division. So this one says a teacher has $4 to purchase pencils. If each pencil costs 16 cents, how many pencils can the teacher purchase? So since they want to know how many pencils that they can purchase, we know we're doing a division. We're going to divide $4 by 16 cents. All right, when I look at that, I can see my divisor on this outside, what I'm dividing by is obviously a decimal, and I know I can't have that. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is move this decimal 2 places to the right to make that a whole number. Remember, if I do it there, I've got to do it over here as well. All right, so we can do the same thing we did in the last division problem, clean it up and say, okay, well, if I have 16 on the outside, if this decimal is understood right here, that really means 16 into 400. All right, so we've cleaned it up. That way we can see what we're actually dealing with. And now we can start dividing. So 16 into 4, obviously not, but 16 into 40, you can go in twice, and that's going to give you 32. All right, and then you can borrow. That's going to give you 10 minus 2, which is 8. We're going to bring our 0 down. All right, now we've got to think about 16 into 80. This may be one of those that you have to kind of guess and check a little bit, but you know it has to end in a 0. So I'm going to go with 5. Now, if I do 5 times 6, that would give me 30. And 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3. That's going to give me the 80 that I need. If you don't start with 5, you start with something else. Just make sure whatever you're starting with gives you an option of ending in 0, because this is wanting the exact number of pencils. So you know it's going to equal out to a remainder of 0. All right, so our answer on this one is 25 pencils. All right, this is also a division problem because it says the cost of a candy bar is 75 cents if she has $5.75 in her pocket. What's the greatest number of candy bars she can purchase? So we're going to start by setting up the problem. We're going to say 5.75 divided by 0.75. All right, once again, you have a decimal for your divisor. So we're going to look and see, okay, how do I make this into a whole number? We've got to move it over twice. And remember, if I move it there twice, I've got to move it on the inside twice as well. So I can clean this up, and my problem now looks like 75 and then 575. So 575 divided by 75 is what we're going to be doing. Now, when I look at this, it said, what's the greatest number of candy bars? So this one might not come out exactly it. It may be have some left over, but it would tell you, we'll talk about that if that happens, okay? So let's say 75 into 575. Let's see. 75 could go into 500, I would say 5 times, and then there would be a 75. So let's try 6. So if I do 6 times 5, that gives me 30. 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 3 is 45. All right. When I go to subtract this, though, I end up with a 5 here, a 2 here, and a 1 here. That's too many. 125, your remainder cannot be bigger than your divisor. So that tells me I didn't go high enough. I didn't go big enough. So I'm going to go back and erase what I've already chosen. And I'm going to erase what we've multiplied out and everything. And I'm going to try again. So it's if 6 wouldn't work. And I think, well, I can only fit one more 75 into 125. So I'm going to go up to 7 this time. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 7 is 49. Plus 3 is 52. All right, so that isn't giving me the exact number 575, but it is giving me something very close. Excuse me, so that now when I subtract it, I won't have a bigger remainder than my divisor. So when I subtract this, I get 5 minus 5 is 0. 7 minus 2 is 5. All right, so now obviously 50 is less than 75. So that tells me that I will have some money left over if I buy as many candy bars as I can, but that I can't spend this 50 cents because 75 cents is how much each one of those candy bars are. So we'll have change, but 7 is the number of candy bars that we can buy. So that's our answer, 7. Okay, this problem is kind of like a multi-dimensional problem, honestly. It's multi-operational, I guess I should say. So you're going to have to do a couple of things. So it starts out with saying Andrew has $10.20 in his pocket, but then it tells you Mark has 2.5 times as much money as Andrew has. Then they want to know how much money do to have all together. So what this tells me is that I know how much Andrew has. So first I have to figure out how much does Mark have, and then I have to add them all together. All right, so when it says 2.5 times as much, so obviously that's telling you multiplication. 2.5, another way I could write it as a fraction if I wanted to, but I could also write this as 2.5. Okay, so when I go to multiply this, I'm going to use $10.20, and I'm going to multiply that times 2.5 and see what we get. So the first thing I'm going to set up is 10.20 times 2.5. All right, remember again, the decimals do not matter right now. We're going to multiply like normal, and then we'll come back and deal with the decimals in just a second. So 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry your 1. 5 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. 5 times 1 is 5. All right, then I know I'm going to put my 0 to hold a place, mark out what we've already carried, multiply everything times 2 now. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 0 is 0, and 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, when I add this up together, we're going to do 0 here, 5 here, 5, and then 2. Now, this is not my answer because I've got to go back up and look at the decimal places. So there's 2 after this decimal and 1 after this one. So that means I have to move a total of 3 spaces. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. So that tells me, if I'm writing this as money, that Mark has $25.50. Now, that is an answer choice right here, but that's not what they're asking for. They're asking for how much do they have all together. So that's why I said it's a multi-operational problem, because now we've got to take what we know Andrew has, which is $10.20, and what we know Mark has, which is $25.50, and I've got to add this all together. Now, if I know I'm adding this together, I would hope you could see that these first 2 are definitely out. We've already rolled this out, so it should add up to that last one. Let's see. 0 and 0 is 0. 2 and 5 is 7. Bring down your decimal. 0 and 5 is 5, and 1 and 2 is 3. So $35.70 is their total together. So that is our answer. This is another one of those multi-operational problems. So we're going to look through what the information they give us, and then we'll figure out what we have to do. So on this one, it says Taylor had $16.93. Okay. So she has that now. She purchased 4 plastic rings for $1.98 each and 1 large soda for $2.29. We're not worried about sales tax. So they want to know how much money did Taylor have after her purchases. So what this tells me is that we're looking for her change, okay? Which means we've got to figure out how much did she spend originally, and then we're going to subtract it from the money that she had, $16.93. So the first thing we have to figure out is what did she spend. All right, so I'm going to write spend here so we can kind of keep our work organized. So the first thing she did, she purchased 4 plastic rings at $1.98 each. So first I need to say $1.98 times 4. So that's going to be 8 times 4 is 32. Carry your 3. 4 times 9 is 36, plus 3 is 39. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. All right, and we know we've got to move 2 places. So we know 1, 2. So we got $7.92 for the ring. And she also bought a large soda, so we've got to add that to her total of what she spent. All right, let me grab a different color so you can see this. 2 and 9 is 11. 1 and 9 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Carry your 1. 1 and 7 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Now, we're adding decimals here, so we know we're just going to drop down our decimal and bring it down. So $10.21 is what she spent. So now we've got to figure out her change. What does she get back? How much will she have after all of her purchases? So she started with $16.93 and she spent $10.21. Using a little bit of common sense, if I know I'm doing 16 minus 10, I know that I'm definitely not going to have 12 or 14 left over. And I can do a little, without the decimal. 16 minus 10 looks like it's going to be 6. So I'm thinking it's the second choice. But I do always want you to work it out, and let's see what we get. 3 minus 1 is 2. 9 minus 2 is 7. Bring down your decimal. 6 minus 0 is 6. And obviously 1 minus 1 is 0. So $6.72 is her change. So we were correct. B is your answer. All right, I chose this problem because I wanted you to make sure that you can tell when it's supposed to be multiplication or division, because obviously based on these answer choices, you could go either way, but we need to read the problem and figure out what is it asking us. So it says if Charlie earns $38.25 for 4.5 hours of work, how much did Charlie earn each hour? That word each is telling you this is a division problem. So we know based on that, if it's a division problem, that our answer cannot be greater than what we're starting out with. So I would say definitely A and B are out. Now we just have to decide which of the last two it is. So we're going to set our division problem up, $38.25, and we're going to divide that by 4.5 hours. Now, when I move this decimal, remember I'm going to have to move it one place to make it a whole number, one place here to make it a whole number. All right, so when I write this new problem, it's going to be 45 on the outside as your divisor, and then it's going to be 382.5 as your dividend on the inside. All right, now we can start working and dividing this problem. Obviously, 45 can't go into 38, but it can go into 382. Based on my answer choices, I could see it's going to have to be 8. So let's see what we have to figure out if it's going to be 50 cents or 40 cents. All right, we know we can also put our decimal here. So 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 4 is 36. All right, so we're going to bring down a 2, and then 8 minus 6 is also 2. Bring down your 5. So I know I'm trying to make 45 into 225. So let's think a little bit. If I know that 5 has to still end in 5, then I would not multiply it times 4 because that would give me 20. I'm going to multiply it times 5 and see what I get. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22, which is exactly what I need. So that means my answer is 8.5 or $8.50. Okay, now this one is a little bit different. It says Alice is charged $15.95 each month for trash collection at her apartment. What is the total cost for 3 months? So again, they're asking total cost this time. So that tells me that this is a multiplication problem. So I'm going to go $15.95, and I'm going to multiply that times 3. Now, just by looking at my answer choices, I would assume you could be able to see, if I'm going to say 15 times 3, that's 45. So I could automatically eliminate those last two answers, and then I can look and narrow it down to those first two and figure out what I actually get. So all I have to do is finish multiplying. 5 times 3 is 15, carry your 1. 3 times 9 is 27, plus 1 is 28. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. And 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So just by looking at the numbers, I know it's going to be this answer, but remember we had to go back and look and see our decimal places. This one has 2, this one has 0. So it's 2 places altogether, so 1, 2. That's why your answer is $47.85. All right, this is our last problem on this video. So we're going to look at the problem and the information that they give us and decide, is it multiplication or division? All right, so this says there are 4 cups of almonds in a bag. A serving size is 0.25 cups. How many 0.25 servings are in the bag? So if I know I'm trying to figure out how many individual servings there are, then I'm going to be dividing this. So when I go to write this down, I'm dividing 4 by 0.25. When I look at this divisor, I see a decimal. So I know I'm going to have to move this decimal over to make it a whole number. So I'm going to go 1, 2. I'm going to start right here with this decimal and also go 1, 2. That tells me that I've got to put some zeros in as a placeholder. So I'll put zeros in here. When I rewrite this problem, it's going to look like 25 and it's going into 400. All right, then I can start dividing. So 25 can go into 40 one time. I'm going to write down 25, subtract this, we can borrow, make this a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5, 3 minus 2 is 1. We're going to bring down our 0 and ask ourselves, okay, 25 can go into 150. So 25 twice would make 50. Then 2 more times would make 100, and 2 more times would make 150. So 2, 2, and 2, that's going to be 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15, which is exactly what we need. So if you didn't get that right all, you can, guess and check a little bit and see. Just to keep in mind that the 5, when multiplied by, has to end in 0. So that's why I chose 6 after thinking about the multiples of 25. All right, so our answer is 16 servings. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope that this has helped you out. Now, if you've already watched the other videos on this day's assignment, then I want you to go and complete your Master Connect assignment. It will be a mixture of multiplication and division of decimals, so just be careful reading each question and determining which operation you should be doing, okay? All right, y'all have a great day, and I will see you on live later on. Bye.